How we doing on this fine afternoon? Evan and Tiki on the fan. We got a ton to get to. A ton. We will foil an evil Yankee fan idea that is being constructed that nobody's aware of. It's a big night for Juan Soto. We'll get you set for that. And yes, the New York Knicks have a playoff series that begins in a little bit more than 48 hours. But all I asked for very politely as a Jet fan was closure on the Aaron Rodgers era. All I asked was for Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji to simply tell me why. And your why could have been very acceptable to me and many Jet fans. They decided not to do that. They decided to punt it down the road. They decided to never, ever comment on what happened with Aaron Rodgers. And the reason why that can be a mistake is because of a day like today, where Aaron Rodgers decided to go on Pat McAfee, talk about his future, which, quite frankly, I don't give a rat's ass about.
Yeah, because it has nothing to do with the Jets or the Giants.
That's right. But I'm a Jet fan. And so Aaron Rodgers was able to express his side of the story. And as of right now, that's the only side of the story, because Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji haven't said a damn thing about what led to the decision to get rid of Aaron Rodgers. So let's all take a listen together to the former quarterback of the New York Jets, completely unfiltered, lay out exactly what happened that led to the breakout. Aaron Rodgers, the floor is yours.
That was an interesting 2 years, to say the least. But, you know, I figured that when I flew across country on my own dime, that there was going to be a conversation. And the confusing thing to me, and the strange thing, was, you know, when I went out there, I meet with the coach. We start talking. He runs out of the room. I'm like, that's kind of strange. I was like, then he comes back with the GM. And I'm like, all right.
First of all, well, there's a couple of warning signs. Both men have names. Aaron Rodgers is not calling them by their names. It is just the head coach and the general manager.
I wonder if that was intentional or if that was he's just not familiar enough to remember Darren Muji's name.
The man from Milwaukee.
I doubt it. That was intentional.
Okay.
That was intentional.
So Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Glenn awkwardly leaves the room, then comes back.
By the way, of course he flew on his own dime. Most guys live here if they play for the team. So it's all good.
You got no issue with the flying on the own dime thing?
Like, why? What else would you do?
No, me neither. I think
Whenever
Aaron...
I went away for vacation in my off seasons, I flew on my own dime. When I came back to meet with the team, I flew back on my own dime.
Was there ever a time Wellington put you on a private jet? Not one time?
Not one time.
Okay. All right, good. That's good context.
Not one time at all. Now, if he was a free agent, that would be different.
Oh, because then you're whining and dining.
Yes, he's under contract.
All right.
Of course, everything is on his own dime.
All right. So far, the own dime thing, no big deal.
Not a big deal at all.
Not calling the coach or GM by their names.
That's a big deal.
Maybe he forgot or big deal. Aaron, continue on about this incredible situation.
All right. So we sit down in the office, and I think we're going to have this long conversation. I've flown across the country. And 20 seconds in, he goes, literally, I'm talking to the GM about something, and he leans to the edge of his sheet and goes, so do you want to play football? And I was like, yeah, I'm interested. And he said, we're going a different direction at quarterback. And I said, and I was kind of shocked. Now, not shocked because I didn't think that was a possibility. Listen, of course, they want to move on. That's totally fine. But shocked because I just flew across country. You could have told me this on the phone.
All right, couple of things. Aaron Glenn immediately asking him, do you want to play football, is completely fine. And I think that's the right approach. Sometimes you got to catch somebody on their toes. Don't give them a long-winded question. Just ask them. And let's get down to the subject. Before we talk about anything else, do you want to play football? I don't care how early in the interview that was. I think that's totally fine. But I'm telling you right now, and we'll listen more from Aaron Rodgers, I do not like, and all I've done is praise Aaron Glenn. That's all I've done. He basically could take his pants down. I've kissed his ass for 2.5 months, okay? So I'm just calling it like it is.
I hope you're still going to praise him.
I do not like Aaron Glenn immediately telling him we're moving on.
Why beat around the bush?
Because converse with him.
Why?
Ask him questions.
He doesn't have to have a relationship with Aaron Rodgers.
I didn't say he did.
He doesn't have to have a conversation with Aaron Rodgers. Now, I'm sure he could tell him right at the very beginning, this is the deal. Now we can talk, but it doesn't matter because you're not going to be our quarterback. But why beat around the bush? Get it out of the way.
No,
right. I mean,
I'll tell you why you're wrong about this. In my opinion, you're wrong. I can't just say you're wrong. That bothers people. In my opinion, here's why you're wrong. Because one of the reasons I think it's valuable to meet with Aaron Rodgers is to collect information. He was in a room you weren't in last year. And the best way to get honest information from him is to talk to him without him already realizing he's been fired. So you have wasted a potential opportunity to get information from a guy in the room by immediately telling him, oh, by the way, you're fired. I'm not telling you had to make a different decision, but to do that 20 seconds in, I'm telling you right now, I think that's poor management.
But I think it's management 101. If you've made a decision on someone and you already in your mind know what you're going to do, don't string them out. Just tell them. If I don't know, the architect came in here today and was like, Sean, I got to talk to you. And Sean's like, oh, wait, I'm getting a promotion. And the first thing he says is, you're fired.
Sheesh, you went to meet?
Yes, you. Wouldn't you appreciate it as opposed to him dragging it out for like 20 minutes and, man, you've done such a good thing and you've done this, but you could have done this better and blah, 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 and yada, yada. And 15 minutes later, he's like, yeah, but we're moving on from you.
I would appreciate not wasting my time.
Exactly.
I am not.
So he didn't waste Aaron Rodgers' time.
I'm not offering my opinion for Aaron Rodgers or for Sean Morash. Quite frankly, I don't care about Aaron Rodgers. I'm giving you my opinion as a Jet fan. And as a Jet fan, that was bad.
Well,
that was dumb.
It's only because you want. I think it's only because you want answers. Like you want to know why they made this decision. I think the decision is simple. They don't want baggage. They want a clean slate as the new general manager and head coach of the New York Jets. They don't want to have to worry about anything that was left over, whether it was smelled good or smelled terrible, coming back into their regime. Right. They want a clean slate. And so Aaron Rodgers, while not the biggest problem, I mean, he was a problem with this team. So why bring that back?
I never said bring him back. I said don't fire him 5 seconds into the meeting. That's exactly what I said. I said nothing about bringing him back.
But I've said this about almost any, exiting situation for a player in the NFL. And people crush me about this sometimes, but it's the truth. You are an at-will employee. You don't deserve to have your job. If they want to employ you, they're going to employ you. If they want to cut you, even if it's financially punitive, they will cut you. You don't have the right to do anything. And so Aaron Rodgers, as great as he is, first ballot Hall of Famer, all the things we can talk about with him, he's an at-will employee just like everybody else. Right. And Aaron Glenn decided to move on.
Yeah, and I don't like the fact that Aaron Glenn immediately did it without picking the man's brain. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback who was in that room for 2 years, and I think that was a mistake. I don't care about Aaron Rodgers' feelings. I'll make that perfectly clear.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers cares about his feelings, and you're going to get that in these clips. I'm telling you that's not my problem. My problem is I'm a Jet fan. And I want what's best for this organization.
So why was this bad for the Jets organization?
I don't like that you didn't take advantage of meeting with this man and instead just immediately fired him 6 seconds into a meeting as opposed to picking his brain. I think that's a mistake. But let's hear more from Aaron Rodgers because maybe the more you hear, the more opinions will differ.
If we weren't even going to have a conversation, and this is verbatim exactly how it happened. So I said, huh? And he goes, we just want to know how you want it released, the messaging. And I said, verbatim, I don't give a about the message. And I said, why? And then he said, I don't want to be up in front of the room saying something and have guys looking back at you.
I don't want to be in front of the room and people looking back at you. How do you take that if you were the player in this situation?
If I was Aaron Rodgers in this situation?
What's Glenn telling him?
He's telling him that he's a black hole, that energy goes towards him and gets sucked into it. And even if it's not the focus, like we should be focusing on the sun, that would be the head coach, everything gets sucked into the black hole. You know what I mean? And so I think he's not wrong about that. And Aaron, over his career, that's actually been a good thing. You know what I mean? Because he's such a good on-field leader. Now, the off-field stuff and the off-season stuff, that's left some things to be desired at certain points of his career. I don't think that was the case with the Jets. But in Green Bay, we all know the stories. And so I think Aaron Glenn just doesn't want to have to deal with that big cosmic energy behind him all year.
What did Aaron Rodgers say in response to that from the head coach?
Interesting.
And I said, what does that even mean? Are you assuming that I would be in the back of the room during a team meeting undermining what you're saying? I said, you don't know me. And he said, you don't know me. And then I said, exactly, which is why I flew across the country to have a face-to-face meeting with you to talk about my experience with the Jets and to hear your vision for the team. 20 seconds in.
I don't like that. If we believe what Aaron is saying is true, because I understand there are going to be people who say Rodgers is a liar, it's not true, that's not what happened. And my response would be, all right, let Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn tell their side of the story, which they may never do. But I don't like the way this came across. And it doesn't mean they had to bring Aaron Rodgers back. It means I don't think you have a meeting with a Hall of Fame quarterback who was in the room for the last 2 years and basically tell him, you're fired. How do you want us to report it? You're going to take over the locker room. No one's going to listen to what I'm saying. And then it sounds like, this is the way it sounds. It sounds like two big egos got into a pissing match.
Same old Jets.
Because Aaron Rodgers said, you don't know me. And Aaron Glenn probably got defensive and said, you don't know me.
Yeah.
And if I didn't know better, this could have ended much uglier than the way it's being described.
No, it sounds like it could have. But I think you're right about that, at least, that this is two massive egos who clearly don't like each other. Now, I don't know if that was a pre-existing prejudice or if that was the vibe that they got when they were in the room together. I don't know if they have any relationship. I would assume they would have at least met. I mean, they played Aaron Glenn played, right?
Yeah.
In the era?
Yes, they intertwined a couple of years.
So
Yeah.
maybe not a ton, but there's got to be some kind of familiarity with either one.
You would think Aaron
Rodgers
Rodgers,
feels like there's a massive ego wall.
By the way, just for the record, they didn't intertwine too much because Aaron Glenn's final year in the NFL was 2008.
Oh yeah, so not really much
so
at all.
So it was very short. He only played 4 games that year for the New Orleans Saints.
Right, so not at all really.
Yeah.
So they never played against each other. So it's one of those. But I don't know. You just feel like there's a crossover when guys are close in proximity. Even if you don't play them, you know about them. But maybe that's the issue. Aaron Glenn knows about Aaron Rodgers.
Here's the last clip from Aaron Rodgers explaining this awful 20-second meeting that he had with the New York Jets.
What I thought was going to be a couple-hour meeting turned into like a 15-minute meeting, and I walked out of there. But
so at that moment,
that was a strange meeting for sure. There was no me pleading like, please have me on the team. Nah. I don't want any part of that. It was already a debacle in some cases. Listen, that whole situation was crazy. And I think even that was a little rogue by the head coach.
Look, here's my issue. I'm happy. I'm weirdly happy that this is over.
Right, pull the Band-Aid, man.
Like,
let it go.
No, I am. Okay, so I eventually came to the conclusion they were better off moving on. I didn't think it was a slam dunk because I think the man can still play, and I think you could have tried to develop a quarterback in the meantime. But all of this, and when I say this, I mean this.
Right.
Like, going on the radio, and I respect it because he's, I think, being honest and telling us the behind the scenes. I appreciate that. But it also can be, head-inducing painful.
But it was already a debacle.
No, I know, Aaron. You don't have to tell me what it was.
Same old Jets.
I watched the whole thing. So I do agree, Teak, that at the end of the day, they made the right decision moving on. Mm-hmm. I do not like the way that meeting took place, if that's the way it took place. I think it shows a closed-mindedness from this general manager, from this head coach.
I think he just knew that he didn't want Aaron Rodgers.
Talk to him, Teak.
But why?
Why not? How about that? Why not? What's the worst that happens when you talk to the guy for 2 hours and you pick his brain?
Because he doesn't have 2 hours to waste.
Oh, come on with that.
I mean, seriously, head coach, you got so many things that you got to worry about,
and that's wasting.
Other than talking to a player that you don't want on your team. By the way, I know you say he was there for 2 years. He was really there for a year.
Okay, he was there for a year plus because he was still a part of training camp. He was still a part of meeting. He was a part of the organization. Aaron Rodgers was a part of the organization for the last 2 years. Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji weren't. Mm-hmm. Like, I completely disagree with your premise that that's a waste of time. How's that a waste of time?
It's
Talk to a guy who was in that room for 2 years?
Time. It does. I mean, but what are you getting from that?
What aren't you getting from it? I'm going to return your questions with questions.
You're not getting anything that's pertinent to what you're doing in 2025. That's for sure.
You can see what went wrong. You could talk to a guy that was a part of it.
I think it's obvious what went wrong. Aaron wasn't very good.
That wasn't the only thing.
I know it wasn't, but it wasn't. But like, what's Aaron going to inform you on? Your defensive schemes? Like, I think this player does this really well. I think just your left tackle needs to work on whatever. You can see that. Right? The thing about football is that you can look at the eye in the sky, the all-22 version, and basically figure out what the hell went wrong on any given play. Mm-hmm. You can see it. You can take it player by player and what's supposed to happen and what didn't happen or what did happen. You don't need Aaron Rodgers to tell you that.
Well, because I'm not talking about the schematics of what happened. I'm talking about the persons, the personalities, the locker room.
The only thing that a player, and this would only apply if he was very long tenured, could tell you about is the culture of an organization.
Yes.
And I don't think Aaron Rodgers had his pulse on the culture of the New York Jets. I just don't. First of all, he wasn't there for his first year. I know he got hurt immediately, but we know what happened. He gets hurt, he is gone. Right? He didn't even the Jets doctors had nothing to do with his surgery or most of his rehabilitation. He wasn't around other than talking about the Jets from afar on Pat McAfee. And then last year, that place got chaotic quick.
Yeah.
They fired their head coach 5 games into the season.
Yes.
And so anything that you would glean from that it's already defecated and flushed down the toilet. None of it matters going forward. And so if you're Aaron Glenn, what do you need to regurgitate BS for? I mean that in a literal sense, like almost. Like that's really what they were going through. Like a bunch of nonsense that is not informative of how you're going to be better a year from now or a year from then. So
you think it was just a waste of time to even meet with the guy? Then why meet with the guy?
I don't know.
Then fire him over the phone.
Honestly, I have no idea why that was necessary.
Look, I know it bothers Aaron Rodgers that he got on a plane on his own dime, not that any of us give a damn about his dime.
It was his own private plane. It's not like he flew United cross country.
Yeah, and Evan, this is important to remember this. Aaron Rodgers had a problem with the way the Packers handled him over the phone and not meeting with him in person.
But again, I'm not caring about...
Right.
No, but that's them showing respect to him because he had a problem with the other way.
I'm not caring about Aaron Rodgers' feelings. I know in that clip, Aaron's pissed off that he wasted his time flying to New Jersey to get fired. I don't care about Aaron Rodgers.
But you just said, why did they not do this on the phone?
Well, I asked that question. You think it's because of the way the Packers got rid of him?
Yeah.
You think it's because Aaron Glenn wants to be respectful when meanwhile 6 seconds into the interview he basically said you're fired and then said you're going to be a distraction in the back of the room? You think Aaron Glenn gave a rat's ass about that?
I think if the player is already on record of complaining about the way it was handled one way and Aaron Glenn then does it the other way, I think that's exactly showing respect.
Oh, you think it's respectful to say to a guy, we don't want you on your team 6 seconds into a meeting?
20 seconds in, and I
I apologize. Yeah. I was off by 14 seconds.
And let's also remember...
Honestly, I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
I really would. I'd rather know. So don't waste my time talking to me for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Just tell me. I'd rather know.
This was an obvious dog and pony show. It was a setup because Woody Johnson doesn't want Aaron Rodgers on the Jets, and he had Aaron Glenn do his dirty work for him. Whoever got hired as head coach and general manager had to do the owner's bidding. Now they're going to prop up Aaron Glenn like he's the former player, the savior. He got rid of Aaron Rodgers. Sure. Okay. The owner didn't want him there, so they did a dog and pony show to embarrass him.
It certainly sounds...
Because why were they so sensitive when they had their opening press conferences, Glenn and Muji?
Just from people who know, I know that this was an Aaron Glenn decision.
And I don't know people, I'll trust you. Right. This sounds like an Aaron Glenn decision.
It definitely was.
This sounds like, I am the king now. Get that fake king out of my building. So... I trust you because you obviously know people inside the NFL, but I'll be the fan along with Tommy. Tommy's fan fiction is it's all the owner. Maybe the owner didn't want him back. I don't necessarily disagree with that part. But I listened to this, and my fan fiction is this is Aaron Glenn saying, get the hell out of my room.
Right.
I'm the king now.
I want control. I want to be able to do this exactly my way, and I'm not compromising it at all.
That's how I took it. That's how I took the way Aaron Rodgers described it. Mm-hmm. And I think the mistake... And you may not construe this as a mistake, but the mistake I think Aaron Glenn made and Darren Muji made is I think they should have gotten ahead of this. And I think that when they were asked questions about the decision to move on from Aaron Rodgers, instead of punting it away, instead of saying, we're not going to talk about it, maybe they should have said, here's what happened.
Yeah.
Because here's the problem I have as a Jet fan. Aaron Rodgers is the only voice who on the record has said anything about what happened.
Yeah. The easiest thing to have said whenever this was first reported a month ago, 2 months ago, was simple. We informed Aaron Rodgers that we're moving on.
Yeah.
That's it. And, we appreciate the Jets as an organization, appreciate his service. We're starting a clean slate, and we're moving forward.
And you know what else?
That's all you had to say.
Well, there's something else, though, because a while ago I said to you, why can't they be honest with us as fans, as customers of the New York Jets? Just tell us why you moved on from him, right? And I said, be honest. And you made a great point. You said, well, why be honest? Being honest is going to rip Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. And why would you do that? Here's why you do that. Because he doesn't give a rat's ass about ripping you.
True.
So,
but
Aaron
Glenn,
now
you're getting a pissing match that creates headlines.
Well, but you know what? There's a headline today.
Yeah, but this is a one-day headline.
No, it's a 2-day headline because now Glenn will be asked about it, and they'll have to make a decision on how to handle it.
Aaron Glenn will smack down any attempt about any conversation about Aaron Rodgers.
I agree with you, but
and if whoever it is, you risk getting on Aaron Glenn's horrible side. He might preemptively say, don't ask me bleep about Aaron Rodgers. I already answered this 2 months ago, and if you insist on talking about it because you want to write a story, don't bother coming back here because I'm not going to talk to you.
Let me ask you a question.
If I was Aaron Glenn, that's what I would do.
I got a key question for you.
It's not pertinent to my team moving forward. If you want to dwell on the past, go swallow around in your cesspool in your septic tank. I don't want to do that.
But I'm not.
So I'm not talking about it, period. Don't ask me.
But remember this.
And as soon as someone asks you again, say, escort that man out of the room. Go kiss ass. Exactly.
I'm not a reporter for the New York Post or the New York Daily News. I'm a Jet fan, and I care. So am I a guy who just wants to swim in the cesspool?
You care for morbid curiosity.
I care because I'm a Jet fan.
No, exactly.
I want to know why.
You care for your curiosity.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, Evan, this has zero to do with the Aaron Rodgers has nothing to do with the 2025 Jets.
I agree with that.
What he did today by talking about it on McAfee is injecting himself into the 2025 Jets. Aaron Glenn is going to put up the strongest facade and wall that you've ever seen. It is not going to be penetrated by this Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers nonsense. This is exactly what Aaron Rodgers talked about was this I don't know, this whatever, the leaks, the nonsense. This is exactly what Aaron Rodgers talked about, and Aaron Glenn is shutting off. I promise you he's not answering anything about that.
It's about the decisions in building the 2025 New York Jets. It is pertinent to building the 2025 New York Jets.
And they're doing it very quietly.
No, but I'm answering when you say it has nothing to do with the 2025 Jets. You're right in terms of when we're sitting there at training camp, it's over, it's dead.
Right.
I'm saying we're still talking about building. I promise
you this is dead by Monday.
That's fine. I'm telling you how I feel
honestly,
as a Jet fan.
I won't care tomorrow.
Okay.
I won't care 2 hours
Well,
from
you're not a Jet fan. I'm invested as a Jet fan. I still care.
I'm talking about legitimately as an IFO. I'm not a flippant, I'm trolling you, IFO.
I know.
But a legitimate, independent football observer. If I'm taking the Jets side, not even the Jets side, just the Jets situation, the last thing I want any involvement in is an Aaron Rodgers discussion.
I agree.
He's not a part of this team anymore. He's not going to be a part of this team going forward. And anything he says on Pat McAfee or otherwise does literally nothing for my team going forward. So why engage it?
But can't
Aaron
things
Rodgers
be true?
is making this a one-day story because it's interesting, and it's interesting to the Jet fan. The Jet fan doesn't run the organization. The Jet fan goes and sits in the stadium and watches the organization play, but the Jet fan isn't in the clubhouse. The Jet fan isn't in the weight room. The Jet fan is not in the meeting room. He's not on the football field. He's not part of anything. He's not in the discussions or the psyche of any of the players or the coaches on this organization. So the Jet fan, with all due respect, can just go wallow around in the Aaron Rodgers cesspool.
Well, we can still talk about it. We can still care about it.
Yes, of course. But I'm telling you, Aaron Glenn will not. He absolutely will not.
I know he won't. And I'm telling you that I would have liked. I didn't get it. Too bad. Sucks for me. I guess I have to swim in some sweat pool of crap that you've just created for me to swim in. Hopefully the temperature's above 95 degrees. I'm just telling you, I would have liked an answer.
You're not going to get one.
I know I'm not. Trust me.
Do you need one?
do I need one? Here's the truth to that, Teak.
You would like it, but
I don't
need it?
I don't need anything other than freaking wins.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
That's all I need.
And by the way, this is how Aaron Glenn is going to be judged.
100%.
How he wins or loses.
100%.
That's the only thing that's going to matter.
And for the first 3 months of the Aaron Glenn tenure, without any wins and any losses, people have formulated opinions. My opinion has been 99% positive. I believe in him. I think he's going to turn the franchise around. I like the fact that he's trying to inflict this culture change on the franchise. This is one thing that I don't like. What does it mean?
Because you wanted satisfaction?
I wanted clarity.
Okay, do you think the Jet fan, does the Jet fan, and problem is you're the only one in here, so I can't even ask anybody else. Does the Jet fan need closure on Aaron Rodgers?
I think some did, some don't. I think there's plenty of Jet fans who say, good riddance, go screw. We don't need you anymore. We don't care about you. Who cares that you were pissed off about a 6-second meeting? We don't care. I think there are some who are going to hear what he said. I could tell you what Joe's going to feel because he wanted the guy back.
Of course he did. I thought it was the best option for them, given a chance to win. But
so then why wasn't he brought back? Because of what Glenn said, you're going to take the air out of the room? Or is it what Loogie said, which you've already denied, which is it was the owner?
No, it's not. It's definitely not the owner. This is Aaron Glenn wanting control of his team, right? You only get one shot being a first-time head coach. Why screw it up? Because there's distractions.
I think that's what happened. I think the king, and that is Aaron Glenn, he's the new king, and we don't know if we are going to be worthy peasants or not, but the new king just came in and said, this is my show. I am curious about one thing. Hypothetical. I'm going to find out if Tiki's going to turn on me with like Seth Rollins in a chair, but he wouldn't do it behind me. He'll do it right now to my face, and he'll tell me what he'll do. But if we're sitting there in Florham Park, New Jersey, on August,
I don't know, 12th?
7th. Want to go with 12th?
I don't know.
And Aaron Glenn sits down, and I tell Aaron the truth. Man, I'm so happy you're here. I do believe in you. That opening speech was amazing. I do have to ask you one very important question. And I ask him about Aaron Rodgers, and I ask about that meeting. Are you going to say, Evan, don't bother the new king with such peasant questions. Go swim in your dirty cesspool? Or are you going to support me when Aaron Glenn threatens to have me escorted from Florham Park? What are you going to do, T?
I'll have your back, Evan.
Okay.
But I'll respectfully tell Aaron Glenn, you don't have to answer the question.
Like you did with John Mara when I asked him about Belichick?
Yes, exactly.
We're coming to you live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire, nobody. Let's get to your calls. Is it anything, or do you need closure? Are you pissed at Rodgers? Are you pissed at Glenn? How do you take what we heard from the quarterback of the New York Jets, who is not pleased with his 25-second meeting?